How's it going, everyone? Um, Punisher Season 2. I'm a bit late to this, but yeah, it was alright. It was pretty good. The first season was a lot better. The first season was like 2 times better, but the second season is still really, really good. The thing with Punisher as a show and all of the Netflix shows is the action sequences are really good when they're there. It's just, it takes a while for you to get there. It takes a while for you to get to the good stuff. Like all the stuff at the start, all the plot build up stuff, it's not as slow in this. Like the first episode is very action packed, and then it's kind of in the middle where it slows down. Then at the end, it's like full action again. But yeah, I really liked this season. The action, like I said, it's really good. The choreography of each scene of the action sequences. There's one specific fight. I think it's in the last episode, where there's a load of police officers in an elevator, and they're all fighting Frank Castle. That fight is really well done. The end fight with the John, I think his name is, the Amish Paradise guy, the kind of Russian guy that's following them throughout following Frank throughout the season. The end fight with him is pretty damn good. The kind of culmination of everything with Billy Russo, with Jigsaw, that's a bit, I feel like that could have been fleshed out a bit more, and the stuff with the Russian guy should have been more of a backseat. Because I feel like they kind of had the stuff with the Russian guy at the beginning and the end, and then Billy in the middle, where I feel like it should have been deal with the Russian guy first, and then have the last, 6 episodes. Like, the first 6 episodes could have been dealing with the Russian, and the last 7 episodes could have been dealing with Billy Russo. Just a little less of the Russian guy, a bit more of Jigsaw in this. The thing with Billy Russo is the way that he's beaten in this is really anticlimactic, because he's supposed to be the big bad. He's the big bad from the last season. He's back in this. I like what they did with him, that the Jigsaw isn't the face as much as it is his brain, because he can't remember any of the events of the last season. He doesn't know why Frank Castle is chasing him, and he's having nightmares of the skull insignia. So he sees Frank Castle as the monster, as the big bad, when we as the viewers and Frank Castle knows that it's the other way around. But he sees it as Frank Castle is the one who wants to put a bullet in him, and he's scared of Frank Castle. That's why he's creating an army and, getting back into crime because of that. There are a few characters that I feel could have been, taken out. Like, there's a girl that just tags along with Frank. I feel like she should have been taken out of the season. Everything that was to do with her just kind of didn't flesh with the stuff with Billy. There's the entire third episode is a bit of a waste of time. And there's this other, assassin woman who's like, you can kill everyone else, but Frank's mine. And then she just dies. She just gets killed. But she's seen as this really threatening woman, and then she just dies in the third episode. feel like they could have made more use of her. Like, she could have been like Anaconda or something. But as she was, nah, just a waste of a character. The plot with the girl that tags along with Frank Castle, it's a bit too convoluted, and it's a bit too political for a show about a guy running around killing people with guns. It didn't really need to be there. I feel like they only put it in to push a political message that didn't really need to be in the season or in the show. Another thing is, I wish that they did fuck up Billy Russo's face a bit more than it was, because in this main season, he's only got like a few scars. Like, if he would have gotten like more scars throughout the show or throughout the season, or if he had more scars from the get-go, I feel like that would have, given him more of a reason to go after Frank. Instead, he just gave him like a few little cuts, which I understand what they were going for, that the mental side of him was the jigsaw, but I feel like they could have still had the, physical jigsaw as well. That would have made him more frightening as well, I feel. John Bernthal is a great Punisher. He is really good, but he has little things that are really distracting. Like, it's really distracting the amount his head moves when he's talking, especially in action sequences where he's going like, "You gotta let me be what I wanna be. You gotta let me do it. You gotta let me put a bullet in him. I gotta kill Billy Russo." And I like how he just, gets through everything just by screaming and shouting at the top of his lungs. Like there's one scene where he's chasing Billy Russo around this abandoned warehouse, and all through it, all you hear is "Russo! Russo! Ah!" And John Bernthal has another thing that he does, like, during action sequences, where he just barks at people. He just anger barks at people. Like, the very first fight scene he has, he, like, knocks this guy to the floor, and he's just like, "Ugh!" It's like, what? How is that threatening? How is that threatening? They kind of explain why he barks when he's fighting people in a flashback later on in the season, but it's still a bit weird. He just barks at people, because something that I've learned, every Netflix Marvel character has a thing that they do in a fight when they're locked in combat. With Punisher, it's barking at people and yelling. With Daredevil, it's heavy breathing. It's like really heavy breathing. With Iron Fist, it's kind of like the it's like heavy breathing, but like the movement of the chest and everything. With Luke Cage, he kind of like flexes his kind of just like flexes his muscles, kind of, I don't know. He just kind of has like quips. Like, Luke Cage has the quips, and I don't know, Jessica Jones doesn't really get into many fights in her seasons or in her show. There aren't really many fight scenes. It's just kind of like the heavy breathing again. There's a lot of heavy breathing in Marvel Netflix. Like, Defenders is just like, it's like listening to someone eat, but with their mouth right next to the microphone. That's what Defenders is. Defenders, all four of these heavy breathing superheroes, just really, like, breathing just really heavily. It's like And then Punisher comes along and he's just like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, Russo! What are you doing? But yeah, that's kind of where I feel with this season is. There's a lot of stuff that they could have done better, but there's a lot of stuff that they do right. Mostly with the action stuff. But it does feel a lot more political. It does feel like they push forward the narrative that you don't think is that. It pushes the narrative that isn't as interesting as the one we want to follow. We want to follow Billy. We want to follow what he does. But he gets pushed to the sideline. He gets sidelined by this new Russian villain who isn't as interesting. They kind of try and make him more interesting by giving him a family, kind of making him more like Frank. But we don't really care, because he's not the one from the last season. He's not the one that we want to see, get beaten up. And he's not the one that's, got that tie to the audience. Billy kind of does. And he's also got the tie to Frank as well, with them both serving in the army and being brothers, for lack of a better term. But that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this season. Of course, I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't nearly as good as the first, but it's still middle road for me in terms of the Netflix shows. It's definitely better than Iron Fist Season 1, Jessica Jones Season 2, and probably better than Defenders as well. But yeah, I liked it. Let me know you liked it. Check out all my social medias, like, subscribe, share, and do all that lovely stuff. I will see you guys in the next video, which will probably be a Titans review, or a review of Kingdom Hearts 3. Toodaloo.